Hello, my name is Sophia, and I will be talking about two alternative approaches or methodologies to the communicative approach, which hopefully I can implement in my classroom and therefore give a little bit more creativity and flexibility to my students. So let me tell you a bit more about the classroom that I had imagined using in this activity. My classroom is made up of 25 students, and all of them are around the age of 13 because they're in their second year of secondary education. Their overall level is about A2, and the only problem really that we're having in the classroom is that nobody really feels comfortable speaking. I think that's partly due to speaking anxiety, which I think could really be related to their age. But also I think that it would be really interesting to implement a couple of different methodologies and approaches that are a bit more visual and kinesthetic to see if I can boost engagement. So the first solution that I would propose for the situation that I previously described is definitely the total physical response method. This is part of the humanistic approach, and I think that it's really good for a number of reasons. TPR definitely lowers anxiety levels in the classroom, and it creates a more stress-free environment because students are focusing on practicing skills that are not as demanding as speaking, but skills that are more related to their physical responses or how good they are at observing and listening. And so I think that this would be really, really positive. And again, it's something that I could easily implement in the classroom through really simple games like Simon Says, or even just by modeling my own behavior and tying it to more simple action verbs that they're learning in their vocabulary, like stand up, sit down, and going through really basic commands like this. The second alternative method that I would be really happy to implement in my English classroom would for sure be the silent way. This is another humanistic approach, but again, I think that it could be really effective, especially because in my case, it puts the focus more on the students and it assigns me a more passive role where I'm there rather as a guide instead of being, let's say, the dominating force of the entire class. Growing up, this is something that for me actually worked really well, and I'll be really happy to recreate in my future classroom. I used to have Spanish teachers who would come to class and during the session would put, let's say, a mystery box of items at the front of the class. And our goal during that session would be to work with a partner or a really small group of maybe 2 to 3 people to pull an item out of the box and work our best to describe it as accurately as possible, basing ourselves on the knowledge that we already had at hand, such as vocabulary charts or different resources in the classroom, and of course, when necessary, the help from the teacher. But again, the whole focus was on our own ability to work together and to produce speech on our own rather than just sitting there listening to, let's say, an hour-long lecture and having a more passive role. I think that, again, it's a really good way to help students reflect more, self-correct, collaborate together, and just create a more positive learning environment where my students have reduced anxiety and feel a bit more comfortable to speak. In the end, I think that the total physical response and the silent way methods are two ways to introduce new dynamics to the EFL classroom and also to support the different learning styles of my students, because as I mentioned before, my students respond really well to more visual and kinesthetic approaches, which both of these methods really tap into. So I think that it would just be a really good way to, let's say, complement, not throughout completely, but complement the communicative approach and offer a bit more diversity, creativity, and therefore foster student engagement.